if you haven't had breakfast yet, we've got a great recipe just ahead for you.
Yeah, today Feed Your Family Tonight founder Mariefiebach joins us live from home to show us how to make some special treats on Mother's Day. Marie, how are you?
Oh, I'm doing so well, Shane. I'm doing so well. You're going to have a busy Mother's Day at your house this year.
Absolutely. And, it's nice to get a little tutorial well in advance. So, at least well in advance, considering most of us want to say Friday is in advance of Mother's Day when we're getting our ideas together. No, let's start out on Monday and know what we're doing through the week.
Well, exactly. And this is just a simple, fun little treat. Your kids could even help you make it. It is a double chocolate muffin, and it starts with 1 3/4 cup of all-purpose flour. You could use white whole wheat flour as well, which that's one of my favorites. And then you add 1/3 cup of cocoa powder, and this is the first chocolate. I am sifting it because sometimes cocoa powder can get lumps in it. And so I just kind of run it through a fine mesh sieve so I don't get any lumps of cocoa powder. If you don't have a sieve, just make sure that you stir it really well so you don't get any big lumps of cocoa powder. The next step is to add 1 tablespoon of apple cider vinegar to 1 1/2 cups of milk. And that is going to kind of make like a fake buttermilk. It creates a little bit more acid, and it's going to react with the baking soda and baking powder and help keep these really moist and fluffy, because muffins, especially chocolate muffins, can get really dry. So that apple cider vinegar is one thing that you do to keep it from dry. Back to the dry ingredients, we have 1/2 cup of sugar. So these are going to be sweet, but not too sweet. 2 teaspoons of baking powder and 1/4 teaspoon of baking soda. And then you always want a little bit of salt, so 1/4 teaspoon of salt. To the milk that I've got here that's got that apple cider vinegar mixed in, I'm going to add 1 egg, a teaspoon of vanilla, and 1/3 cup of cooking oil. And I like to mix this together. You noticed I got an extra big measuring cup here, so I can just mix it all in one thing. I don't have to dirty another bowl. And I'm just going to lightly stir together the dry ingredients and then add the wet. And we're going to stir this gently. You want to make sure that you don't over mix your batter, because that's another thing that's going to make them dry and tough. And we want fluffy. And that word, some people like the word moist, but I like my muffins moist, and you want them moist and fluffy so you don't mix them. As soon as it's all together, you're going to add 1/2 cup of chocolate chips and scoop them into your muffin pan.
Oh, so easy.
It is super, super simple. These bake at 350 degrees for about 18 minutes. And I'm a fan of a good scoop. This is a number 16 scoop, and it fits perfectly into the muffin tins.
I'm so nervous to try this recipe, Marie, because if they're anything like your blueberry muffins, I ate those almost every weekend for like 3 months straight because they were so good.
These are just extra yummy. And if you want to do something to make them just a little extra special, sprinkle just a teeny tiny bit of sugar on top of them before they bake, and they'll kind of get a little bit sparkly and a little bit crusty on the top, which we all know that the muffin top is the best part. And so a little bit of sugar sprinkled on top, just like 1/4 teaspoon over all 12 of them. And these muffins are just perfect. They're fun for Mother's Day or any day, but they're perfect because they're not too sweet. Is it muffin? Is it cake? These are definitely in the muffin category. They're not really heavy and they're not really sweet.
Yeah. And when it comes to the chocolate powder, do we need to be looking out for anything when it comes to quality or anything like that?
There are lots of different grades of cocoa powder. I use the cheap stuff for this particular recipe. So this is just regular cocoa powder. Dutch cocoa powder, actually, you have to kind of be careful when you're looking at recipes. If it calls for Dutch cocoa powder, which is the darker, heavier cocoa powder, you want to be careful because the acid balance base in baking can be off. So this just calls for regular plain old Hershey's cocoa powder or whatever you can get at Aldi. It's nothing fancy.
All right. Well, and very easy too. Most of this stuff is already in our pantry, so don't have to look too far. Thank you very much, Marie. Always appreciate this, and looking forward to seeing what happens when it gets out of the oven at Allison's house tonight.
I can't wait to hear. Post a picture, Allison, if you make them.
You know it. Marie, thank you so much. We're going to let people know how they can find this recipe and so much more. Just go to feedyourfamilytonight.com or find her on social media. She's everywhere. But also, we want to let you know today at 9:30, so here in just about 10 minutes, Marie is going to be going live on her Facebook page. You go to facebook.com/feedyourfamilytonight, and she always talks about her meal planning, where she plans for the whole week of meals for her family. She's going to do that with you live on her Facebook page. So if you have any questions for her about what it takes to create these menus, you can ask her right there in real time, and she'll walk you through the process about what she does to feed her family.
Yeah, very useful. So thank you very much to Marie, and we will be right back after this.